very good day to you. Welcome to Herman Manyora's channel. My name is Jadel Kabira for our political conversations to build this country. Even as we're progressing with President William Ruto's administration, I'm here with Herman Manyora. How are you?
Good.
Good times we're looking at. Good times we are looking at in this country.
Yeah, we are doing well.
We are doing well.
Yes, yes.
Huh? We're doing well. Sarcasm at its finest. Let's talk about President William Ruto, what he's doing internationally. Right now, they're even saying he has changed the way he's dressing, putting on some vintage, suits, those half coats that the likes of Kwame Nkrumah were putting on back in the days. You're listening to him speaking to French President Macron. He's going to these conferences and saying that it is time for Africa to be relooked at differently. We've been talking about, I don't know.
That's why we are doing well.
That's why we're doing well.
Yeah.
We've been talking about the World Bank. We've been talking about IMF. He's saying even here in Africa, we need to look at why we are trading in dollars and we're just trading here in Africa. This image we're looking at from President William Ruto, is he the next Gaddafi?
You talk of Nkrumah and bring Gaddafi. Those are people who are deep philosophies. These are people who had a vision for a united Africa, for a new world order. I'm not saying that William Ruto doesn't have the deep philosophy, except that he has not demonstrated to me, given his history, to be a person who possesses that kind of deep philosophy and who may have a vision. But people change. Let's look at what is practical. You cannot go on the international stage and talk about shareholding in IMF and contribution when you cannot even East African countries cannot even produce miserable dollars to run the East African community. These African countries cannot even give their share to run AAU.
But
people who can't even give a few dollars, a few coins to run AAU. Even that headquarters must be done for them by China. Can these people play at an international stage?
Don't you think this is the conversation he's having? They had this conference here with Ibrahim Mohammed, and he was saying we need to even support Somalia as African countries. This is the conversation Ruto is speaking now, taking this conversation even to the international stage. That's why I'm asking, is this the way Gaddafi wanted things to go together with Kwame Nkrumah, and is Ruto following this suit?
Let me tell you, my friend. You must start within. If you look at the people you are mentioning, and Patrice and the others, and NASA and the rest, within their home territory, they had created some democratic space.
Oh.
You get it? They therefore could spring from home and talk about Africa. Take Gaddafi, for example. Gaddafi liberated Libyans from economic slavery, from political oppression, because Libya was a kingdom. He created the sort of world he would want for the rest at home. Before you talk about a new world order, what do you have at home? What order is there at home? You must have some order at home before you talk about a new world order. Yes.
So you're telling Ruto remove your spec first?
Yeah.
Your log first before you
create some order at home first. Before you spring and talk at international. Even Macron was looking at him, and I think he was first of all he was angry, then he was shocked, then he was amused. You must understand the history of IMF and World Bank. World Bank is not the World Bank. It's a bank of reconstruction and development. Put together to help Europe rebuild after the destruction of the Second World War. So where is Africa in the picture? And then IMF comes up as a support institution to the World Bank, the Bank of Reconstruction. So you have to understand that first. So Macron is looking at Ruto, so this guy doesn't understand. Secondly, you must understand the world order. The world economic order. You must show deep understanding of that order. How it works. And finally, you must understand what capitalism is. And how world capitalism works. Now, once you have understood these things, especially capitalism as an ideology, then you can go and talk. But when you are just talking, people can laugh at you.
Should we
You are just laughing.
Should we appreciate the fact that he has brought this conversation to light now? Told Financial Times that Africans were paying even 8 times more than other countries when it comes to repaying debts because we're profiled as risky. Don't you think this is the conversation that we ought to have?
Why do you need those debts? That's what I'm saying. You don't understand the international world order.
Oh.
The international world order will make you take loans you don't need. And if you don't have a loan like Gaddafi, they'll kill you. Yeah. These loans we take, we don't take because we need them. Because that's what supports the international order. So don't talk about rates. Rates are secondary. Talk about the principle of the debt. Talk about how you do your budgeting. Look at your budget. How do you do your budgeting? Look at your physical policies and monetary policies. You are not doing them because that's what you must do or that's what you need. That you are doing them to fit in the international order.
So
I don't know whether you understand this deep.
Gachagua says the Wazungu, they applauded Ruto in Paris because they saw
they are just
a man
laughing
with
at you.
brains.
They are just laughing at you.
Take a look at the political angle of it now. When you look at President William Ruto going there, speaking the way he was, some said President Uhuru Kenyatta was the guy when it comes to speaking internationally. These friendships he's making out there, how beneficial are they to his leadership in Kenya?
You know, it's like this. You have to understand the development in the past 20, 30 years of a sleeping China that then ambushed the whole world around the 1990s. The collapse of the Berlin Wall and sets in liberalism and all these changes in the world. These guys were doing that without knowing a giant had been sleeping and now was awake. Now China is challenging America and the rest of these countries, international and global, but more so in the place where everybody wants to be, which is Africa. This is the only frontier left. If you lose Africa, you've lost it. So, the international community, the Western countries, will do everything possible to support a regime that can help them fight China. They will support anybody who can help them fight China in Africa. So part of the things you are doing is part of the game they are putting on the table for you. To keep you busy, moving up and down.
So you say Ruto is more of a pawn than he is?
Yeah, of course. And he's not the only one.
The player of the game?
Yeah, it's not if you are the player of the game, I've said, these big players, Europe, America, China, you can't face them. You can't face them without great risk to yourself and to your country. But you must have something you're offering, something you stand for and willing to die for.
Okay.
And none of these people, look, let me give you an example. You had people saying 250,000 houses per year. You've had them saying we shall use our own local material.
Yeah.
To grow our economy.
Yeah.
So I've challenged them. A country that cannot face China and tell them to stop bringing fish, can they face China and tell them not to bring building material? Can they? If you can't stop China from bringing fish, can you stop them from bringing building material to Kenya? The answer is no. So in other words, we are small bits in an international system which you don't even half understand.
So
It's like a small insect on a ball. When the ball is rolling, it can't even know the ball is moving. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying.
I'm getting you.
So you cannot go on international scale, a stage, and purport to be lecturing anybody. They just laugh at you because you don't understand how it works.
What then do you think Ruto is doing? Because he's raising very serious questions, scary. Some of these questions are scary to this community, to this international community. What is he doing if he actually knows what you know, that it is a very different ball game when you
either he doesn't know,
politics.
he could, maybe he doesn't know, maybe he's being led to believe he can be a tough man. You know, you can believe there's some dissonance. There's what do you call dissonance? Psychological dissonance. What you believe is at variance with the reality. You may even think you are a very important person. You may think you can go on the international stage and outdo Uhuru. You know, Uhuru wasn't out to outdo anybody or to shine. It was just Uhuru with his demeanor. It was just Uhuru with his self-confidence that made Kenyans proud when they saw Uhuru holding his space among top world leaders like President of the US. You know that kind of thing?
Yeah.
And partly because of his upbringing. So you cannot try to compare yourself to that or to fight it. So there can be various reasons. And the people also, if they want to control you, they can give you the international stage to move from one capital to the other. And you have your day in the sun. But as they have their days also, as they exploit you.
That's why we're still in debt. That's why we're still borrowing.
But the bottom line is this. You cannot purport to compete at the international stage when you are a beggar. We are basically begging for everything. I was moderating something. It was called High Scientific Panel. Even my colleagues were wondering, how can you go and moderate a high scientific panel on research and blah, 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 blah. Then I asked these people, I've listened to you talk. Big researchers, big government officials. Then I asked them, I've looked around, I've read documents here, I'm a quick learner, and I've listened to you talk the first day. Where would you be without international support for research? They just collapsed and they agreed they'll go nowhere. There's hardly anything we can do without international support. Hardly. Everything we are doing from a beggar position. How can a beggar go on the international stage to talk about the people who give him handouts?
But you know, if you're not begging from them, they'll not give you the platform.
It's a very tricky situation. What I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They're just giving you an opportunity to release hot air as they enjoy you. Because you are basically a beggar. It doesn't mean we cannot change.
Yeah.
I have told you, for example, countries that borrow don't need the money. This borrowing is meant to keep an international system in place. Do you think America needs to borrow?
No.
Yeah?
No. But they're also in debt.
But they are borrowing. They are borrowing to keep an international system afloat. I don't know whether you get it.
Yeah.
The same America that spends billions, if not trillions of dollars across the world on useless endeavors, which to me are useless, and to you, they know why they are not useless. So let's agree they are doing good things. Maybe they are policing the world, they want to create a new world order, they want to get rid of dictators. I mean, it's a good thing. But the bottom line is this. How can a country that spends so much again be borrowing? Those are the questions you must ask yourself. Borrowing is one of the instruments used to keep the international order afloat. Not that you need the money. When Kenya makes a budget of 3.7 trillion shillings, at a time they are doing so badly even in revenue collection, and they are moving from 3 trillion or 3.3 to 3.7, wouldn't you, as a matter of common sense, have thought they should even put the budget below 3 trillion? Because now The amount of money you use to service our debts and what have you, you cannot afford to come up with new things. Is that right?
Yeah.
Why do you think they are coming up with new things and therefore creating a deficit? Why do you think there's a deficit?
It's all about the international
Yes.
order of things.
So that you remain indebted all the time. It's like this, you see, I don't know. I think. Let me give you one last thing. Let me give you before you ask. You know, living in the West, you are basically one payslip away from misery, because you live on a credit card. Everything you eat in advance, you pay later. You see how they have made people now. So people are basically just machines. They are not human beings. They are being used to support an international system. I don't know what.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you understand.
I'm getting you.
Everybody is fitting in this system to support that international system. You've been turned into some robot. You just get everything on credit. That's why you get surprised. A man you respect in America, the father dies and he can't even afford ticket to come and bury the father.
Yeah.
Being an African, you think he has been so westernized that coming for a funeral is not. No, he can't afford the ticket.
Yeah.
That's the world order I'm talking about. So unless you understand it, you cannot even criticize it.
So two things you're telling Ruto: first, settle things at home, democratic-wise, and
Yes.
two, understand.
You see, you can still fit in that international order. You can still be subservient to them. You can still beg. You can still look for support. But put some foot down. You should be able to say something, no to some things. You should go there as a person, not their equal. You can't be their equal, but go there with an African voice. Because there are certain things you can't take. When you hear the Chinese president has called African leaders, they are going there like boys.
They were put in a bus.
Why don't you start? Why don't you start by saying, you people, you Western countries, you Chinese people, you Japanese, you Indians, whatever you are, we love you. You are our friends. We value your support. But there's a bar below which we shall not allow you. We will not allow you, for example, to bring these plastics in this country and kill all our industries. Look, butter closed the other day. Okay?
Yeah.
So that you may get plastic shoes from China. So you should tell the Chinese people, look here, we love you. You've done so much for Africa. But please concentrate on mega projects. We are not in a position to construct these roads and buildings. Do that for us. And we will support you. Okay?
Yeah.
Until such a time we may do it. But this small selling plastic shoes, please don't do that. This cheap electronic, don't know. Plus of all, don't bring here cheap things that you can't sell in your own country. Okay?
Yeah.
Second, do not engage in such a cheap trade like fish. Tell the Americans, okay? We love you so much. You are our brothers. Actually, our elder brother. You have supported us a lot. But this second-hand cloth, for this and this reason, please spare us. Tafuta mahali ya kupeleka, sio sisi. Ama mchome. Because even dignity is also part of it. When people are being forced to buy underwear and brass used, say no, please, spare. You should have the courage to tell them over certain things. Then you can still be small, but with dignity. And when you go on the international arena, like Kagame can go on the international arena and talk. Because there are areas he tells them off. Anaambia kama hii second class close, tumekata. No. So Kagame has a voice. He can transport to the international arena. I would advise our president to create that voice by having something he stands for at home against the West, against the Chinese.
All right.
Once you have your own, there are certain not everything they say goes. If they say GMO, yes. They say seeds of this nature, yes. They say no, you say hapa hapana. Hii hapana. Okay, hapa tutakubali shingo upange. Hapa ni sawa, twende. That's what kind of thing I'm talking about.
All right, thank you so much for tuning in. If you know what President William Ruto is doing, leave a comment down below. If you think he's doing it rightfully, then tell us in the comment section. Until we do talk again, have yourself a lovely rest of your day.